Moses, great magician and alchemist. We need to learn how to orient ourselves upon the path that must lead us to final liberation. From very ancient times, as we can see in the Bible, we find esotericism, alchemy, magic, astrology, philosophy, mathematics, and other sacred sciences. If we study the Old Testament carefully, particularly the Exodus of Moses, we discover extraordinary esoteric prodigies, exorcisms, resurrections of the dead, enchantments, bewitchments, transfigurations, levitations, healings by means of concentration upon the root of illness or through magnetic passes, water, consecrated water, small portions of magical saliva applied to the afflicted part, and other arcane practices. A careful study of the Exodus of Moses reveals, both within it and within ancient times, the practical magic of the Egyptians. Moses was a great magician. It is evident that he was born to fulfill a gigantic mission. It is well known that he was a cousin of Pharaoh and a descendant of a great ancient magician, a Chaldean initiate, Abraham. He was also a descendant of Isaac, whose name contains the particle is, which reminds us of the mysteries of Isis in ancient Egypt, the sunny land of Hem. The life of Moses began with an extraordinary event. The Egyptians attempted to harm a Hebrew. Moses defended the Hebrew, but in doing so, as the Bible tells us, he exceeded the limits and killed one of the Egyptians. When an Egyptian initiate killed someone, he was not judged by ordinary judges, nor taken before courts of subjective human justice. Instead, he was judged directly by the great priests of the sunny land of Hem. A sacred college of Egyptian hierophants judged him. This judgment was far more serious than imprisonment, for they represented celestial justice, the objective justice, which is radically different from terrestrial subjective justice. Subjective justice can be bought or sold. Objective justice, the courts of cosmic justice, cannot. Moses fled before being judged and went to Midian, the land of Midian. There, Jethro, who would later become his father-in-law, offered him hospitality within a great temple. Moses remained there, living in an underground crypt. He took Zipporah as his wife and lived there permanently. The fact is that Moses had to consciously leave his physical body. In the astral world, he encountered the deceased person, his victim. For a long time he suffered in the astral realm, while his physical body lay in the underground crypt. In the astral world, he struggled to convince the victim to forgive him. Finally, after many sufferings, he obtained forgiveness. It is clear that afterward he was pardoned in the courts of karmic justice. Once pardoned, Moses returned to his physical body. Before this event, he bore another name, but on returning to his physical body, he took the name Moses, which means saved from the waters. Many initiates did not obtain such pardon and did not return to their physical bodies. When the priests came for them, in some cases within the crypts, they found their bodies already dead. Moses, however, was successful. He married the daughter of Jethro, the great priest of Midian, and thus began the work of the great work. The key to the great work is already known to you, the Sahaja Maithuna, the arcanum AZF. Through this, Moses became an alchemist and a Kabbalist. Did Moses attain self-realization? It is true. Did he attain the resurrection? It is also true. He attained it in the cave of Horeb. In that cave he beheld a flame burning among the brambles, and that flame spoke to him, saying, "Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses, my dear brothers, at that precise moment attained the initiatic esoteric resurrection. He was already dead unto himself. Therefore a ray of Elohim entered within him, that is, his Father who is in secret, and he resurrected in order to fulfill the gigantic missions described in the Exodus. Elohim is the eternal cosmic common Father. The entire army of the voice, all the Elohim are but rays of Elohim. Elohim is the unknowable and unmanifested unity, the omni-merciful, the only existent, the eternal cosmic common Father. Our Father who is in secret is merely a ray of Elohim. All the masters of the universal white brotherhood prostrate themselves reverently before him, before the eternal cosmic common Father, the only existent. All the gods kneel before Elohim, the omni-merciful, the infinite that sustains everything, the unmanifested divinity. My dear brothers, Moses fulfilled a precious mission. Undoubtedly, the Ark of the Covenant is an instrument of high magic. It is charged with tremendous electrical force, and any profane who dared to approach it died instantly. Within that ark were the staff of Aaron, the tablets of the law, and the cup or gomer. There is no doubt that the staff is phallic, just as there is no doubt that the cup symbolizes the yoni. Thus, my dear brothers, the ark was immensely powerful. It is said that 2 cherubim touching one another with their wings were positioned above it, representing the man and the woman in the sacred act of copulation. Moses, during his pilgrimage, always carried the staff of true power, and it is said that he transformed the staff into a serpent. He also used the pontifical staff, the mace of Hercules, and other sacred instruments. When one reads the Exodus, one is astonished by his formidable powers. It is known that Moses sought the liberation of the Hebrew people, while Pharaoh refused to grant it. The sacred scriptures state that Moses therefore manifested his power before Pharaoh. He raised his staff, the iod of the rabbis, the tau of the prophets, and the waters were transformed into blood, rendering them useless. The fish, of course, died. With another movement of his staff, the waters became clear once again. As Pharaoh persisted in refusing to let the people depart from the land of Egypt, Moses raised his scepter, and all the Egyptian houses were filled with monstrous, gigantic frogs. Even so, Pharaoh did not relent. The Exodus continues by explaining that Moses caused the frogs to disappear, and afterward provoked a hailstorm over the land of Egypt. When I reach this part of the narration, I am reminded of Milarepa, who also provoked hailstorms. The Exodus states that Moses caused clouds of mosquitoes and plagues to appear over the land of Egypt. Yet, brothers, Pharaoh still refused to free the Hebrew people. Clearly, there are many aspects here that require profound reflection. It is also said that Moses took soot from an oven and through it produced ulcers and pustules upon the bodies of the Egyptians. As affirmed in the scriptures, Jehovah intervened, and all the firstborn of the families died. This is what the Exodus of the Old Testament says. I am not the one who affirms this. It is written in the Exodus itself. Moses possessed formidable powers. Pharaoh was finally convinced when the firstborn of the families began to die, and he allowed the people to leave. Then the passage of the Red Sea is narrated. Moses extended his staff, separating the waters so that the people could pass through. When his persecutors attempted to do the same, for although Pharaoh had repented, he pursued them with his army. At the command of Moses, the waters closed and devoured the Egyptians. Thus, throughout all the passages of Moses, power is evident. When he struck the rock with his staff and water sprang forth, there exists profound alchemical and Kabbalistic symbolism worthy of investigation. It is clear that Moses was a tremendously divine man. When he descended from Mount Sinai, his face shone and the multitudes were frightened. Unfortunately, during his absence, Aaron established the cult of the golden calf. When Moses discovered this, he ordered the death of those who had followed it. This is what the Exodus states. However, I tell you that this must not be taken literally, because Moses was neither a black magician nor an assassin. All of this is completely symbolic. Nevertheless, there is no doubt that he possessed extraordinary powers. When he descended from Mount Sinai with the tablets of the law, 2 horns, 2 rays of light resembling horns, appeared upon his head. For this reason, he has always been represented with 2 horns. Now then, what do these horns of the billy goat represent? Why did Michelangelo sculpt him in this manner? This must have a symbolic meaning, must it not? It cannot be taken literally, that is evident. Then why did he have those 2 horns? I will tell you why. The billy goat represents the devil. For this reason, Moses bore that pair of horns. But does this mean that Moses was the devil? We must analyze this subject carefully. We cannot hastily assume that Moses was satanic. It warrants deep reflection. If we contemplate the billy goat, we discover sexual potency. The billy goat of Mendes, venerated in the caves of the Illuminates of the Middle Ages, precisely represented Lucifer. And Lucifer is the morning star. He is the reflection of the Logos within ourselves, here and now. Just as the physical sun casts a shadow, the night being the shadow of the day, so too does the inner Logos of each one of us project its shadow within our own inner universe. In the beginning, Lucifer shone in the depths of our consciousness as an archangel full of magnificent powers. But when we fell into animal generation, when we ate the forbidden fruit, Lucifer was precipitated into the depths of the abyss. From that moment onward, he was transformed into the devil, into the billy goat. Lucifer himself represents sexual potency. Who could deny that a billy goat possesses great sexual power? Any man suffering from impotence due to debility, because there are various kinds of impotence, whether caused by nervous damage, injury to the creative organs, or general physical weakness, can be cured through the sexual hormones of that animal. The testicles of the billy goat, when boiled in milk and sweetened with sugar or honey, can cure impotence, because the sexual hormones of the billy goat possess that restorative power. Thus, the billy goat represents creative power itself. For this reason, it has always symbolized Lucifer, and this must be properly understood. Since Moses made correct use of sexual potency, since he was able to transmute the sacred sperm into creative energy, 2 rays appeared upon his head, symbolizing Lucifer. Now we may ask, from where did Moses obtain his power? With what forces was he able to produce the 7 plagues of Egypt, as the Exodus recounts? What was the marvelous agent that allowed him to demonstrate such power before Pharaoh? Sexual potency. Within it lies the power of all powers. Now you will understand why the Ark of the Covenant had 4 horns of the billy goat. Those who transported it, 4 men, did so by holding it by the horns. That ark represented the lingam yoni, the law itself. Within it resides power, force, and the divine. The Tao of the prophets would be useless. The Yod of the great rabbinical initiates would be useless. The pontifical staff, the pilgrim's staff, the mace of Hercules, and the scepter of King Ahasuerus would all be useless if we did not possess within ourselves the sexual force. All the power that accompanied Moses in the desert was contained in the staff that was transformed into a serpent, and the serpent that was transformed back into the staff. If one truly knew what is lost when one goes after a woman to fornicate, or vice versa, instead of going laughing, one would go weeping. In the mercury of the secret philosophy lies the key to all powers, the key to all mysteries. The sperm itself is the metallic chaos of the medieval alchemists. Through transmutation, we fabricate the mercury of the secret philosophy. There are 3 classes of mercury. Raw mercury, that is the sperm, the metallic soul of the sperm, mercury already fertilized by sulfur, that is, by fire. Thus, we must comprehend the necessity of fabricating the mercury. All the alchemists of the Middle Ages kept silence regarding the elaboration of mercury, and the secret lies in the billy goat of Mendes. During the Middle Ages, when initiates or neophytes were led at midnight into the caves of initiation, into secret sanctuaries, they were blindfolded. When the blindfold was removed, the neophyte found himself before the billy goat of Mendes, the devil of terror. Yet upon its forehead shone the star, the flaming star, not inverted as used by black tantrics, but with the superior ray pointing upward and the 2 inferior points downward. The fundamental task, my dear brothers, is to perform the great work. Of what use is erudition if we do not accomplish the great work? Obviously, at the beginning, we must fabricate the mercury. The secret of its elaboration was unknown to most. You now know it. In the arcanum AZF lies the key. Why do we prepare the mercury? For many purposes. With mercury, we perform the great work. First, the sperm must be transmuted through sahaja maitana into energy. That energy itself is already mercury, the metallic soul of the raw mercury, that is, fire. Does that energy then ascend through Ida and Pingala to the brain? Obviously. Is it true that after the union of the solar and lunar atoms, fire is born? Yes, and that fire fecundates everything. That fire is sulfur. A mercury fertilized by sulfur is marvelous. With that mercury, the entire work is accomplished. But what is the work? We must understand it clearly, and we must discard the many erroneous concepts propagated by various pseudo-esoteric and pseudo-occult organizations. Man, for example, is said to possess 7 bodies: the physical, the astral, the mental, the causal, the buddhic, and the atmic. In theosophy, these bodies are given Sanskrit names. The physical body is called Stula Sharira, the vital body, Linga Sharira. The astral body is called Kama Rupa, the principle of desire. The mental body is known as inferior manas, the causal body as superior manas, or arupic body, the intuitive body as buddhic, and the highest principle, the 7th, is called Atman. The curious thing is that all these pseudo-esotericists and pseudo-occultists believe that all human beings, or rather humanoids, already possess these 7 bodies. This is completely false. The intellectual animal, mistakenly called man, possesses only the physical body and its vital organic base, nothing more. He does not possess astral, mental, or causal bodies. What he has, beyond the physical and vital bodies, is the ego, the I, the myself, which is mistaken for the astral and mental bodies, but it is neither. In the inner worlds, I can verify this directly. In the name of truth and emphatically, I tell you, when I am in the astral world, I can clearly distinguish who possesses an astral body and who does not. Multitudes of disembodied beings wander there without an astral body. They are seen as phantoms, nothing more. Miserable shadows, unconscious, like sleepwalkers in the region of Amenti. Those who possess an astral body are different. They are seen as true men. Anyone can distinguish there between one who has an astral body and one who does not. It is like placing before us a clothed person and a naked one. We immediately know who is clothed and who is not. In the same way, those without an astral body appear as poor phantoms. Therefore, we create mercury for a specific purpose, to create the existential superior bodies of the being, and later to perfect them. But we proceed step by step. I want you to understand what we are going to do with mercury. First of all, mercury, fertilized by sulfur, takes the form of the astral body. When one already possesses an astral body, one knows it because one can use it. We know we have feet because we walk with them. We know we have hands because we can use them. In the same way, we know we possess an astral body when we can consciously and positively move through the supersensible worlds. And of what is the astral body? Of mercury. Why does mercury take the form of the astral body? Because, I say, it has been fecundated by sulfur. Mercury, fertilized by sulfur, takes the form of the astral body. Once we have had the privilege of creating an astral body through mercury, we will no longer be miserable phantoms in the world of the deceased. I am reminded of Homer when he said, "It is better to be a beggar on earth than a king in the empire of shadows." He who possesses an astral body is no longer a phantom. He is different. In the region of Amenti, he is distinct. He lives there with his sacred name. Each one of us has his own name. The name I use, for example, Samael Aun Weor, is not a capricious name chosen by myself. No, I did not choose it. It has always been my name. Throughout eternity, from age to age, from Mahamanvantara to Mahamanvantara, I have always been Samael Aun Weor. That is the name of my being, of my divine monad. It is a name that represents the king of fire, of the volcanoes. Undoubtedly, he is he. I am merely his Dhyani Bodhisattva. As Muhammad said, Allah is Allah, and Muhammad is his prophet. He is perfect, I am not. I do not wish to presume perfection, because only one is perfect, the Father who is in secret. None of us is perfect. Thus, brothers, in the world of Amenti, he who possesses an astral body knows his name and is alive. After death, he remains there living with his astral personality. He is not a mortal creature. He is immortal. However, if someone creates an astral body and then stops, if he does not continue working with the mercury and later degenerates in new existences, then there is no other solution but to send him to incarnate in inferior animal organisms so that he may eliminate what he has of Hanasmusin. This is very important. In the astral world, my dear brothers, there exist different kingdoms, just as there are here in the physical world. These kingdoms are governed by devas or divine hierarchies. Once one has attained the creation of the astral body through the mercury of the secret philosophy, one can then begin the work of creating the mental body. Everyone believes that they already possess an individual, personal mental body, but this is false. Observe that the I is multiple. The I is a conjunction of persons that one carries within, and the body is merely a machine. Through that machine, suddenly an I expresses itself, that is, a person. Later, that person leaves and another enters the body. Then that one departs and another arrives, and so on successively. Thus, the intellectual animal does not possess a defined individuality. He is a machine controlled by many eyes. Each one of those eyes has its own mind. Because the eyes are many, the minds are also many. Each eye has its own ideas, its own criteria, and its own way of reasoning. So, my dear brothers, where is the individual mind of the poor intellectual animal mistakenly called man? What is the mind of that poor rational mammal? What is the mind? We must realize what we truly are if we wish to achieve a radical transformation. Once one has created the astral body, it becomes necessary to create a mental body. Can we do this? Yes, we can. With what element? With mercury. Eventually, that mercury crystallizes into the body of the mind. When do we know that we possess an individual mental body? When we can use it, when we are able to travel consciously with the mental body throughout the entire universe, from planet to planet. Then, and only then, do we know that we possess a mental body of flesh and bones, but of a flesh that does not come from Adam. For there are two kinds of flesh, one that comes from Adam, the terrestrial flesh, and another that does not come from Adam. When we truly possess that mental body, then we advance to a higher work, the creation of the conscious will body, the causal body. Yes, we can attain it, always through the mercury fecundated by sulfur. But the work proceeds in order. First, the astral body, the Kejiano body, then the body of objective reason, the mental body, and finally, the body of conscious will, the causal body. Each one of these bodies is governed by its own laws. The physical body is governed by 48 laws, the astral by 24, the mental by 12, and the causal by 6. Observe the marvel of these bodies. He who actually created the astral, mental, and causal bodies receives his spiritual principles, his human soul, and becomes a real, true man, thanks to the mercury of the secret philosophy, fecundated by sulfur. Only then is one a man in the full sense of the word. To believe we are men before that moment is a falsehood. It is evident, if we place a man and an intellectual animal face to face, they appear similar. Yet, if we observe their customs, they are profoundly different. The customs of the true man differ from the customs of the intellectual animal, just as the customs of a cultured person differ completely from those of a jungle cannibal. Observe carefully a man and an intellectual animal, their behavior, their customs. They are radically different inwardly, even though their physical appearance may be the same. Do possibilities exist within the intellectual animal to become a man? That is another matter. Within him exist the germs of the existential superior bodies of the being, germs that the emanations of the sacred Sun Absolute can vivify through the work of sexual alchemy. This is essential. Thus, from Lucifer we extract all the mercury, and as time passes, Lucifer becomes entirely mercury. What finally remains within us is mercury. What is a resurrected master? He is mercury already purified, transformed into gold. For this reason, he is represented by the cup of alabaster, the hermetic mace, and the sacred alabaster symbols. There exist knights of the superior order, resurrected ones, who no longer possess a physical organism in any place. Inverential peace. Samael Aun Weor.